you have to decide between two different ways of losing everything. My ex-boyfriend called me 3 weeks before his wedding with an ultimatum that made my stomach drop through the floor. Remember that open mic night at the bar? His voice dripped with satisfaction like honey mixed with poison. I still have the video of you performing that poem about my dad, and unless you show up to my wedding alone and pretend to be single, I'm sending it to Betty. The poem was the most mortifying thing I'd ever created in my 28 years of existence. After too many whiskey sours and a dare from my college roommate, I'd performed 7 minutes of erotic verse about my then boyfriend's father called Silver Fox Daddy. It rhymed distinguished gray with make my day, and included a line about his carpentry business that compared his hands on wood to things that should never be spoken aloud. The entire bar had gone silent except for one drunk woman who kept yelling, "Yeah, girl," after each increasingly terrible stanza. Betty and I had been together for 18 months, and she was everything my ex wasn't. She brought me coffee with hearts drawn in foam, left me sticky notes with terrible puns, and last week I'd caught her looking at rings on her phone. The idea of her seeing that video, watching me writhe on stage while describing my ex's father's seasoned hands that knew their way around more than just a toolbox, made me want to dissolve. "You left me for her," my ex had continued through the phone. "You humiliated me in front of everyone we knew, told them I wasn't enough. Well, now it's time for payback. Show up alone, pretend you're single and miserable, or I send the video with a full explanation of what kind of freak you really are." I tried reasoning with him, but he just laughed. "My fiancé knows you left me. She wants to see you there, alone and pathetic, to know she won. After what you did to me, I want to watch you squirm through my entire ceremony, knowing I could destroy your perfect little relationship with one click." For 3 weeks, I lived in hell. I couldn't tell Betty about the poem, couldn't skip the wedding without him sending the video anyway, so I told Betty I had to attend alone because bringing a +1 would be too awkward. The hurt that flashed across her face before she covered it with understanding nearly broke me. "Of course, baby, whatever you need," she said, but I saw her delete something from her calendar. The morning of the wedding, Betty helped me zip my dress, pressing a kiss to my cheek that felt like goodbye. "I'll be here when you get home." Something in her voice sounded off, but I was too consumed with dread to analyze it. His fiancé greeted me at the door with, "Oh good, the ex is here and appropriately alone, just like we wanted. He told me you were prettier when you were together. Guess being single doesn't suit you." I bit my tongue rather than tell her that her soon-to-be husband used to cry after we slept together. I found a seat in the back row while the ceremony started. My ex kept shooting glances at me, smirking every time our eyes met. The officiant droned on about love while I thought about Betty at home, probably starting to doubt everything about us. Every time I shifted in my seat or checked my phone, my ex's smirk grew wider, clearly savoring every second of my misery. Then, just as the officiant asked if anyone had any objections, the back doors flew open with a dramatic bang that made everyone turn around. Betty stood there in her burgundy suit, the one that made her eyes look like fire, holding a piece of paper and looking directly at me. "Sorry I'm late," she announced to the entire room, "but I need to do something before this goes any further." My ex's face went white as Betty walked down the aisle toward me, not him, ignoring the shocked whispers from the crowd. "You see," she said loudly enough for everyone to hear, "someone sent me a really interesting video 3 weeks ago. A video of my girlfriend performing some genuinely terrible poetry about this groom's father." My heart stopped completely as the room erupted in gasps and nervous laughter. "And I've spent 3 weeks trying to write something equally terrible to prove that I don't care because I love this ridiculous, wonderful, embarrassing human being exactly as she is." She unfolded the paper with theatrical flair and cleared her throat. "This poem is called Ode to My Girlfriend's Mortifying Past, and it's somehow worse than hers." She began reading in the most dramatic voice possible. "Roses are red, violets are blue. You wrote about his dad, but I'd still marry you. Your metaphors were awful. Your rhyme scheme was broke, but you're still the hottest person here, and that's not a joke." The crowd was laughing now, genuine belly laughs, while my ex looked like he wanted to disappear. Betty continued, each line worse than the last, rhyming beautiful disaster with poetry master, and comparing my embarrassing moments to sunshine after rain, if rain was made of liquid pain. She ended with a line so spectacularly bad that even the officiant cracked up. "Your past is messy, your poetry's a crime, but I want to be your terrible rhyme until the end of time." Then she got down on one knee, right there in the aisle of my ex's wedding, and pulled out a ring. "Will you marry me, you beautiful, embarrassing, poetry-writing disaster?" I didn't even hesitate before running to her, saying yes, while the entire wedding erupted into chaos around us. My ex's fiancé stormed out screaming about ruined weddings. My ex stood frozen at the altar, and Betty slipped the ring on my finger while whispering, "By the way, his dad sent me a friend request last week along with that video. Apparently he was really flattered by your poem."